Alright, gang, it has been a while since I've had to do this, okay? This is one of those chapters where I cannot write a script because there's way too much content to cover, okay? There's way too much stuff I need to talk about. There's way too many things. Um, Theories we gotta kill, theories that I get to advance, um, new stuff, the obvious reveal of V. It's a lot to talk about, okay? So let me get this out the way first. Chapter is a smooth 10 out of 10. Okay? Action, not a lot, but enough. Backstory, past, good dialogue, intriguing, new drops, obviously the reveal, easy 10 out of 10, probably, possibly the best chapter of the year. But we still got a lot of time, so let me not say that yet. But without further ado, hit the sub, share this video, share it to other talk spaces that you are in or aware about, okay? We about to go in. So you know we start with the chapter review first, and we're going to do that, and then I'll give my initial thoughts in between and at the end. All right? So the chapter begins with my man, the Gus, the gang, head falling off, okay? That's fine. We pretty much got that, at the end of last chapter that was happening. So why is it a surprise that it happened this chapter? Now, it's everything that happens afterward that it gets crazy. Okay? Now, let me first say, the thing with family heads not being able to kill each other, I have never been one to assume how it works. Can they kill each other? Yes. I've never said that, and to be honest, I've only thought as far as, well, what would be the point, right? Because the popular theory is they can't kill each other, okay? So if they can't kill each other, why would they ever attempt to? So being that, we're still new to the family heads even getting, next to each other in the current timeline, we're still very new to this. So when I imagined it, the way I imagined it was, I thought of like empty husk. Something like if Zahard attacked Gustang or Lee Rang or something, that they would just reform, because I'm pretty sure you guys seen other series where there's immortality and the person kind of like gets hurt, but they kind of like automatically regen type shit, right? Like if you're watching The Boys, right? Kind of like how Kimiko, when she gets body and she regenerates, I've always thought of it as that kind of thing. But there's also always the possibility that what happened here, where they can die and then be regenerated by an administrator, given that their contract allows them to be immortal. But the capability of actually doing it, well, there's never been anything that said they can't actually do it. They just shouldn't do it. And that's always been the kind of weird caveat space that we floated around. But kudos to those who assume, right? I mean, it's never been super duper important. It's just, what people guessed and assumed. So kudos to those who assumed right. But regardless of that, that kind of kicks off everything that happens afterwards, right? We get a flashback, okay? And this flashback is weird as fuck. Trom is upset over the death of his anima, okay? They apparently were around for a long time. And he calls them children like they're his kids. You know what this is starting to make me think of, guys? You know what this is starting to make me think of? That 8th son of Trommery that he supposedly cried and wept over was a fucking anima. That's what I'm starting to think. And we can honestly be pretty much accurate about that. You know why? Because Trom considers these animals his kids. Okay? He's created like the dragons and everything. They can be considered his kids, to be honest. So that way back memory that could possibly be retconned about his 8th son being upset about it, no. It could absolutely be an anima, okay? But anyway, Trom is upset that his animals got killed. And Gustang is like consoling them in like a bullshit way, but you know, Gustang doesn't care because they're animals to him. But he gets it. It's like, you know, you're a friend of a friend. You have a friend who breaks up with his girlfriend. You never met the girlfriend. He's like, bro, it's just a girl. Like, relax. It's just a girl. But you know, I'm here for you. Da, da, da. That's what's going on here. Now, who committed this? We don't know. But we do remember that there was something, I guess, the Towerborn did that was considered egregious. And this could be a part of that. Those who were, I guess, strong enough to defeat Trump's anima that aren't necessarily like his top dogs. Yeah, I can see how that could be like egregious to him. The conversation gets very strained, and you kind of get an idea of what's happening. So this has to be around the time that like V and Arlen and everybody separated, right? This is all during that timeline that we got in the flashback. Trom only cares about his friends, and he made that pretty clear, and that he could never be lonely because he has Gustang and the rest of the Great Warriors. But he's talking about disconnecting from everything so that he doesn't need to care, so he doesn't need to feel. And this reminds me of exactly what I've been saying for the past couple months. The emotional thing here, the emotional attachment, the removal of emotions. I always and keep going to go back to that. Okay? I'm going to go back to that later in the review, but that's what it's sounding like here. Weird enough, in the Shinwa Ryu, it's really, really cool that I guess his Shinwa Ryu is made up of dead anima. That he can probably like resurrect at his own time or his own point. Now, why he's upset they're dead if they could be just resurrected, it could just be the sight of it, right? The sight of seeing it, the slaughter and everything could upset anybody, right? So I get that part of it, but his Shinwa Ryu is basically made up of dead anima, or he could just be infinitely reanimate them. Which I guess, you know, is Trom, right? So now here's where the king comes in. The king, the master, the flexor of all flexors. Zahard, okay? The manipulation. Now, I need y'all to pay attention here to the words that are being used because it supports my theory. And when I'm talking about advancing theories, here we go. First of all, Zahard a little sus grabbing Trom's hand. I'm not going to cap, but we'll get to that in another time, okay? Do you remember where you pressed the button inside of you for the first time? The helpless hatred you felt towards that day. Are we understanding that? I'm telling you, and there is no, and even the narration supports it, okay? We have pulled down so many levers since then. Side note says, you have turned off your emotions and you have changed a lot since then. I have been saying that these people have been slowly losing their emotion to everything. Okay? And that the point now where they are is where it's like absolutely removed. Okay? And Zahar goes on to say, we shouldn't feel any emotion about it. Evil slips through the cracks of good people's guilt. Yes, when you're a good person, it's easy for you to feel guilty about shit that you shouldn't care about. The animals, you can see that Gustang does not give a fuck about them being dead, but it matters to Trom. This is what we're talking about. Now, V's character, where I'm just talking about V, we known V, when described to us by Ed, to be a caring person. He cared about everybody. He was an equal people's person, okay? Zahard has never been that. Zahard has been literally a video game player. If you're playing Elden Ring or any type of game, Zahard is a person who kills NPCs, okay? That is Zahard. That's who he's always been. That is the disconnection between him and V, beyond the jealousy of him and Arlen. That's where I've made this point several times before to disagreements, but it's fine. Zahard says that they are the absolute good. Okay, guys, so for those in the back who don't understand this entire thing here, the removal of emotions, which I still think that this is bigger than just pressing a couple buttons. There's some type of power involved. There's some type of removal. Whatever it is, we already know that like Trom's anima can remove emotions from him. So this is what I'm talking about when he says pressing the buttons and pulling down levers is them cutting off parts of their emotions to not care about certain shit. It has nothing to do with memories. It has all to do with emotion. It has all to do with being a ruler. That is why they are the absolute good. Because if you're a sovereign, nobody can tell you anything. You're a sovereign. You're a ruler. These 10 million bugs cannot tell you shit. But if you're a human being, you naturally care about shit, okay? You naturally care about people. But they are different. And when you're different, it's different, okay? Zahar never seen the people around him, the NPCs, as people. And that's a theory, but the evidence is pretty much there. He only cares about his friends, and he's got his friends to care and think along the lines the way he thinks. We are the true rulers. We are the true transcendental beings that exist in this tower. We should not be caring about these little itty bitty things. The only thing that matters is us, because the only thing that can stop us is us. Okay? So when we talk about the absolute good, that means that no matter what they do, it is good. It is good. But we'll come back to this point about what Zahar said. Evil slips through good people's guilt. Now, that's just the prelude. We moving on. We like 10 minutes in and we gonna move on, alright? Now, Tromri says he's going to not care anymore about Guste. Family, I need y'all to understand what that means. And I need y'all to also understand what that could lead to. Now, this is just a theory. Trom has become so removed emotionally that he does no longer care about Guste, okay? Now, you can say it's about their beef or it's about the war and what Zahar told him to do, but honestly speaking, Tromri from 5,000 or 10,000 years ago, however long before they did all of this in the beginning, when they were really close, to now, two different people. Tromri just said that all he needed was Guste. Now he's saying he doesn't care anymore. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like you don't care about your friends anymore. And that's kind of how he's developed over time. Could this happen to every family head? Could they have become so disconnected from the tower, from their friends, from not seeing each other or being around each other anymore? Because that's basically what happened. They all got their own mothership castles where they live in different places, don't see each other, don't hang out anymore. Do they care about each other the same? Probably not. That changes everything. Because the whole point of y'all separating yourself from everybody was just to care about y'all. But things have become so politically motivated, and rankings and everything else, and power and floor control and everything else, that where's the love, fam? Where's the love? The love doesn't exist. Now, moving forward, Gustang is down. The blood is forming. There's a blood forming. There are words forming. The blood covenant formed a scripture that was approved by an administrator. Okay, so first of all, let's cover what blood covenants are. A blood covenant sounds like, and if we're taken from different series, kind of something that's you do this, you die. Okay? So, for instance, an unforgivable vow from Harry Potter is kind of sort of the same thing. They made a blood covenant, meaning that they probably cut each other's hands open, shook hands, and that's what could be considered a blood covenant. Now, the blood covenant is that they aren't allowed to kill each other. This is why family heads don't kill each other. And it makes sense. Why would there be no stipulation in between them where they could just, if they choose so, chose to kill each other? No, there should be an absolute middle ground, a contract, a penalty that happens if they decide to do so. So what is being said here is that if one of them choose to kill each other, the scales will be invoked. The scales of judgment will be invoked and judge the moments of the past. Now, this scale tool sounds very useful against Towerborn who have committed great sins. For example, if they're a Towerborn that murdered Trom's anima, you would be able to judge them, and you wouldn't necessarily need to give anything for it, because this scale has the power to examine the facts. And if you don't feel guilty or feel the guilt and the shame of doing it, then you're gonna die, basically, right? Your judgment will be passed on you, which will basically mean you die. But if you repent and if you repent and everything else, you can be forgiven. You can walk a normal path, probably. But you have to really feel this. And okay, so what? And I need to dive back into this just so we understand what we're getting into later on. When it says repent for the guilt that you may have, because this will lead to trauma later on. This means that you really have to mean it and you have to feel it. It is not as simple as saying, I'm sorry I did that and please forgive me. I like to use Harry Potter as a very good example of a lot of things I described. One of the things that's described is when Voldemort splits his soul in 7 pieces and he commits murder to do so, Harry asks, is there any way to put your soul back whole? The way to do that is to be remorseful. And it's extreme remorse, okay? It's remorse where the force of the remorse can damn near destroy your body, okay? The feeling has to be so intense it could destroy your body. We don't, as humans, we can't even describe what that feels like, right? And you may feel like something like that in real life. I would say the closest to that extreme is losing someone very close to you. Losing your loved one. Losing your mom. Losing your dad. Losing your brother. Losing your lover. Something really close, okay? That can probably be the most close and extreme emotion that you would probably could feel that's compared to this. So that feeling that could almost destroy you is when you could possibly be forgiven. That's what Traumery has to do, okay, for the judgment to pass and for him to pass it. He has to feel extreme remorse. And that kind of remorse and that kind of feeling does not just, oh, I feel it and then I go back to normal. Like, I do that and I feel like, that is brain-altering emotion. That is logic-altering emotion. Like, that shit fucks you up, like, badly. Changes your whole dynamic, may change your whole life. So, going back into what's happening here. So, in these pieces, we get a lot of things that we can infer on what's going on. Okay. Opidal Gustang will resurrect as an absolute executioner bathed in the blood of the innocent and given permission to use the Order of Redemption. The Order of Redemption sounds exactly what Enkidu has. A guaranteed death that they deserve based on judgment. It sounds very, very similar to that. If Enkidu's ability was called Order of Redemption, I would not be surprised. But I'm just saying, this is a guaranteed death, meaning that if Traumery is found guilty for committing murder, Gustang has a absolute one-shot kill that will kill him. Now, the interesting wording of this is Gustang is given permission to use it. Now, the Order of Redemption sounds like something that can be used possibly by an administrator or the scales. Because I imagine so, right? Let's say a scenario where they found the people that killed Trom's anima, right? And Trom wouldn't need to use the Order of Redemption to seek or get revenge or pass judgment. The scales itself could invoke the Order of Judgment and commit the murder, or commit the judgment itself upon the person that committed the sin. I imagine that's maybe how it works, but maybe Gustang wants to do it himself, because when it says given permission, it sounds like it's something that has to be released or given, or something that it's kind of like it's weird when you think of an ability or a power like that, right? Because the way I see it is like there's like a glass case of weapons or like powers, and they're like, oh, the Order of Redemption, let me use that. That's how I see it. So interesting enough, these are concepts that we are very, very new to. We don't understand the complete concepts of this. We only have what we have based on this chapter. But obviously, by Trom's reaction, none of this is new. None of this is new. He's seen the scales before. By his reaction when the scales come out and say, Trom, very nice to see you again. Are you the one that murdered him? All this is not new information to him. Before I get more into the dialect of what the judge is saying, it does say that Gustang will be revived as an executioner. Now, I think that this is just a power up. I think people are taking the term executioner too serious because in this scripture it is still described as Po beat out Gustang. He is just an executioner, meaning that he has a occupation or he has a new title. That does not mean that he is still not Po beat out Gustang. Like he does not go from Po beat out Gustang his entire existence erased to the executioner now. That's not what it sounds like. It sounds like to commit the judgment, which to commit the passing, to give out the sentence of judgment, he needs to be the executioner. Then he will, but he is still Po beat out Gustang. So I don't understand why people are confusing that, but that's what's happening here. Now, interesting enough, when the judgment scale comes out, Trom says that he still had it. And I don't know what that means. We can interpret that a number of different ways. You know, these little bits of conversation always takes us to the stratosphere. But when Trom says that, it sounds like there's something that could have been or should have been discarded. Because think about it. When would they really need the scales of judgment? When would they need that? Jahar, Trom, and Yang are all too strong. Like they can kill and wipe anybody off the map, like with no problem. So the scales of judgment, what would they really be needed for? Especially as you lose emotion and you care less, it's easier for you to pass judgment upon stuff. Now, let's just say like I don't know, they said that was Quadrado or not, but the guy with the multiple eyes who was red and he seemed like he got ran down on by Gus and Trom at some point. But let's say they used that against him because he seemed like a pretty strong person to even be standing in the same room as Edwin, Gus, and Trom. Let's say they used the scales against him because they at the time they couldn't outright destroy him. That's where it would be needed. But at this point, so many years later, there can't be that many people who are on par with them. So why would the scales be needed? They could have been sealed. They could have been discarded. Now, I'm honestly more inclined to be like it was like sealed or just forgotten. But the way it sounds like here, it was a tool that was forgotten. And I'm not surprised because look how much Trom and Gustang and everybody else has forgotten over time. So if a tool like that existed and he forgot about it, it makes sense. Like I that is not anything I have a problem with, and I don't think it'll be a problem later on. Controversial take, and I've said this earlier before. I think that Gustang gave his life on purpose. Okay? I think he gave his life on purpose. I thought this was all thought through an elaborate plan. And it started with that we are all sinners when he got his final book. Gustang looked into the past. He's been hard researching the past. Recovering the memories, that entire arc and everything else was super important. Okay? Everybody, including myself, we took it as just Gustang trying to decide whether or not he would kill and attack Trom. No, that makes no sense, guys. You know why it doesn't make any sense? Because Gustang knows how Trom fights. They all know how each other's fights. We see him when he says the last chapter, he wants to use the library. We know he knew about this connection when he pulled it out. How does it not make sense, guys? Especially when we even see Trom pulled out disconnection when he was upset about the anima. So Gustang has seen him use disconnection in fights before. He's seen it. Because that first time he showed it clearly wasn't the first time he used it. So, in front of Gustang. So, what I'm saying is they know how each other fights. They do. They know exactly how each other fights. So, why is it so hard for people to believe that Gustang The reason why he did the research, the reason why they're all sinners, the reason why he went through this entire thing and put himself in that position and not even starting out with his library, because if he was being serious and his library is his strongest thing, why would he not start with that? It's not rocket science. Why would he not start with that? Trom knows it's a problem. For him, Trom knows it's a problem for himself. So why would Gustang not use it? Because he already had a plan. He made it seem like he was being overwhelmed by the disconnection technique. And with Trom's with Trom's Megalodon morphing her and everything else. Was it a problem for Gustang in the moment? Yeah, probably. But I don't think this was a fail-safe or a backup plan. No, for what? Because otherwise he would have went hard from the beginning. No, he led Trom to a false sense of security where he feels like he's gonna win. And it says it here in the text. He gave his life. He gave his life. He gave it. He gave it to invoke his plan, which was to get Trom judged by the scales so that he could revive with a buff. Now, I will admit that could be because Gustang is underpowered when it comes to fighting Trom. Trom could have an advantage. Trom could be stronger. I don't care to admit any of that. That could possibly be the case. Does Gustang need a 1-up to kill Trom? Yeah. Or maybe he wants a surefire shot to kill Trom without any complications. There it is. That's a surefire shot. The Order of Redemption sounds like a surefire shot. So, was this all a part of Gustang's elaborate plan to murder? Yes, that makes complete sense to me. Because now that we know that family heads can murder each other, there's still the blood oath, which we just learned about. There's still the blood oath. So what would Gustang accomplish by killing Trom? He would be punished by the administrators. He'd be punished by judgment. The scales would be invoked against him. So who could he use? Bomb? He has met Bomb. We know Bomb's character. Bomb's not murdering anybody. There's no scenario where you could get Bomb to murder Traumery. Now, we assumed this months ago, and maybe me and a few other people or whoever, I assumed that could be the case. But in the back of my mind, I know, well, Bomb can't murder anybody unless he's, in a crazy state where he's not controlling his body type shit. And that's, kind of how people imagine Trom controlling Bomb. Trom would control Bomb and get him to murder Gustang. No, that's not what's happening here. Gustang had his own elaborate plan on how he would take care of Trom through the administrator's approval. It's approved, meaning it's legal, meaning there's no punishment behind it. He can do it. This makes absolute sense. I don't see seriously, I don't see what's hard to understand that this was a part of an elaborate plan. I mean, so that's a controversial take. People can take it how they want. You don't have to agree with it. If you think it's a fail-safe, fine, whatever. If you think Gustang was actually cornered and this wasn't a part of a plan, fine. I don't care to argue with people to be right about it. I just think it makes the most sense from a story's perspective. And if Gustang even says it himself when he gets revived, because trust and believe Gustang is going to get revived. It's like why go through this if he's not going to get revived? We've already seen glimpses of Trom feeling guilty. Okay, the pop-up of Enkidu's character in the maze was him feeling guilty. Him having old memories flow back into him is him feeling guilty. When you feel guilty, you think about it, and it may be in a way where it's in the back of your mind. It's not in your right. You're not in your right mind of frame. You're feeling guilty. Maybe that's why Zahard wanted to talk to Traumery in the first place. What are you remembering? What's the problem? Because that is him feeling guilty. There's a silver lining. If this man's feeling guilty about shit that he's done, he can be punished. He can be that could be Zahard's end all. Traumery is the loose end. I must say, SIU has cooked. He's cooked. He's cooked with this. I'm not gonna cap. Like, you know, I've been happy with the last few chapters, but just thinking about how intricate this shit is has my mind boggling, and why this review will probably be the longest review I've done, because I'm not even close to being done, y'all. I'm not even close to being done. We still cooking. Enjoy the content, okay? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, okay? Because I'm still going. I'm still going. All right. Now, before I continue with the flashback, I do want to talk about what Trom's sins are. What are Trom's sins? The death of Amwise. Now, Amwise is not a transcendental being, so it depends on how that's looked at, okay? The death of V. Now, I've been in a few spaces and I've been chatting, and I think that trauma was a definite, intricate part in the death of V. For sure. What are we talking about? I think it's pretty fucking clear. He incited a war against V, gang. Hello? Amwise's death? He blamed the V for it, y'all. Like, this is not rocket science. He blamed V for it. So with that being said, could Trom be in a plot that put V in the corner and that got him possibly murdered, possibly in a scenario where the death of Baby Bomb, how Zahard got in and destroyed like all these people, and how Zahard and crew murdered the Grace people and won the war. So Trom has absolutely committed sins. He absolutely murdered Gustang, and it's all stemming back from as far as the manipulation from Zahard and from Trommery's side. So will he admit to and ask for forgiveness? Do y'all really think that? He doesn't care about people. He doesn't care anymore. He just said he doesn't care about Gusting anymore. So is he gonna admit it? Is he gonna ask for forgiveness and repent? Fuck no. Fuck no. Now people are saying that, oh, because he doesn't see people as humans, that it won't necessarily work out, blah blah blah. He wanted to marry Amwise and then murder her a couple hours later. She was a person to him, and he murdered her. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. And that fell into the plot of how they cornered V and the Grace people and everything else. So, will he admit and repent? Fuck no. Fuck no. I think it's asinine to believe so. But the zookeepers will put their capes on and camp for it and campaign for it and go for it. Go for it, gang. Okay. I think I covered everything in the first half of the chapter. Going into the flashback, we are opening a whole nother can of worms here. My God. So, robots. The Great Warriors are going against a bunch of robots, right? And we see Zahard and Ed jumping into the fray. Love it. Absolute fire shit. Yi-Rang fighting off some robots. Trom and Gustang side by side. These two seem like the type of people that were in a group who were always together, always getting into shit together. And they could have been seen as the two weak little brothers in the group, to be honest, because that's kind of what it's kind of seeming like. But regardless, they're trying to figure out what's the weakness in the game, because this is all a game, right? So they end up falling through a hole, and they're trying to figure a way out, and they find a power source. Now, after finding the power source, Yi-Rang is with them, and they're being scolded. Now, the whole time, Trom is saying, contact V, contact Zahard. And even Yi-Rang says herself, when they find the power source, to contact V. Guys, there was a discussion in my Discord a couple months ago where I kind of described the dynamic of Zahard and Trommery. And some people disagree with me in the voice chat, and that's fine. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad or feel wrong about anything, because I honestly don't give a shit about being right. But I described this dynamic, which we are absolutely getting the evidence here. There was a 2-command system, and it's obvious to me that V was number 1. Zahard was number 2. I described this plenty of times where there was a double leadership thing where V may have had a better head on his shoulders because The way Edwin on the data floor talks about V is somebody he would want to support to be the king. V is somebody who understands people. He cares about people. Zahard is the adventurer. Zahard cares about the adventure, exploring the tower, having fun because this is all a game to him. That's who Zahard is. So there's a big difference there, but they both have their strengths. Now, so even here, hearing Gustang say we can't always rely on them, meaning that these two have been the two for a very long time. Now we run in. They teleport and they find GOG. Okay, the Guardian, the Shinwa Ryu goat. Okay, and his drip is dripping. I don't know about the crop top. It was like a muscle shirt. He would have been cool, but I like it. I like the Guardian. Okay, I like the Guardian, but he's down there and he's telling them, "Oh, yo, destined to fail. Here come the beta testers." Guys. I have been saying this for months now, and even before that, before I started doing reviews of Tower of God. The Tower is a giant game, a real life game, meaning that me, Mark, I'm Zahard, my mom, my dad are Arlene and V, and we can walk inside of the tower and play the game. That's what's going on here. However, the game is a game, and the game was not ready and created yet. Zahard, V, and the whole Great Warriors are beta testers. I said this weeks ago, months ago. Do you want me to dig up the video? Put it in the comment section if you want me to dig up the video where I literally said that they were better beta testers. I will put it down there for you if you want to go see it. I call them beta testers. They're beta testers. Max Seth is a developer. He is a developer. He is a live service developer in the game. The administrators, the top administrator of the entire tower who takes care of the tower, his entire goal is to get people to play the game of the tower, is Hedon. It's Hedon. Hedon is the top administrator, and all the other administrators or each floor are the administrators for the floor. They manage the floor. They invoke games. This is a giant game. Now, we don't have to get really like black and white about this. Oh, this is all a giant video game, blah, 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 blah. We don't have to get into that. Because the story gets very complicated and very interesting because of how detailed and how serious things are. Now, bomb, okay? Bomb is the bug, and I've called him a bug. He's a bug. Bomb was born in the tower and taken out of the tower, but he died in the tower. So when he comes out of the tower, he is no longer dead. Now you can say the outside guide revived him, blah blah blah. I think Bomb just left the game, but Bomb was a real human being, meaning he was born from two irregulars, two real humans. So him coming outside, he was never really necessarily dead, but he might have been dead in the game, couldn't be revived in the game. That's how I've always seen it. Rachel may have been a person who lost her power because she went outside the game and tried to come back in. I don't think it's possible for you to come in and out of the game. Or it could be another thing with Rachel. That's an assumption I'm making. That's a theory with Rachel. I still think that Rachel is technically Zahard's daughter. I still think that technically like Rachel could be Zahard's daughter, born out of spite, and because she was born weak, she was forgotten and everything because the hair color and everything else. But that's just my own guess. We're not going to go into that theory here, but just going into the whole game scenario and everything else. The reason why Zahard doesn't want to leave and never wanted to leave because this was a beta test. Zahard is the false king because he was not meant to take over the tower. He was not meant to take over the game. The game was not supposed to be something that they stayed in. They were supposed to beta test it, climb to the top, and come out. That was supposed to be the end of it. But Zahard took over because he was obsessed with it and he loves it. He built his own kingdom of it and because he was good at it. okay? And then, Arlene was the woman that he fell in love with. This is a Peter Pan scenario. A boy who found something he loved in Adventureland that he never wants to leave and wants this woman. That's what it is. Peter Pan scenario, okay? Continuing with that, you could put a bunch of other pieces into it to try to describe, there's a bunch of other pieces that you could put into this to kind of get an idea of what's going on, like why Hedon gave them immortality if their objective is to complete the game. Well, because they're the most powerful beings in the tower. They're irregulars, and Hedon has been low-key plotting their demise. Hedon has low-key been plotting their demise. Hedon is behind a lot of shit, and that's because his whole thing is to get Bomb, the bug that's supposed to come in and fix everything, and kind of get rid of the beta testers. That's my whole theory. That's what it's always been. And Ryu is a user, what you would call a godly user, right? So in like certain games that an administrator can log into the game as like an extremely high level character already and do what they want. That's kind of what I've always seen in Ryu as. Phantominium, same thing. Phantominium was, though they both were users already created. That's why I think with the Axis level power, Phantominium literally was a developer character who just kind of walked through and did what he want and could do what he want, even though these are like real life beings in real life scenario game. Okay, I'm done describing all that. Okay, guys, if you understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. If you want to expand upon that theory, go ahead and have fun with it. But I just wanted to point that out, that them being called beta testers just absolutely opened the door for my theory that I've been promoting for a while now. Now, continuing with everything else, the Guardian says that there's somebody in the rice pot, and we get the reveal of V. Shout out to V, man. Man looks good. He definitely looks like Bomb's father. I don't think that's up for debate anymore. It can't be. He looks like he's Bomb's father. Now, with that being said, Baza Therius has to be dead, right? Baza is dead, right? It's got to be dead, right? There's no way that's not his father. You guys can cope or say what you got to say, but I think if anything, if the Baza theory was like possibly 70% true, that shit had to drop to 30, 25, 20%, 20 to 80 now, because no, the V looks way too much like Bomb. Okay. But regardless of that, V seems like a very carefree guy, as he was in the rice pot training for his revolution, and he didn't care to contact his friends. And I don't think it was that he didn't care. He just was, he's the type of person who lives in the moment and acts and doesn't necessarily think. But because the way he is, he's a very reliable and trusting person. And he's also a very caring person based on what we got in the past. So far, I like his character. Now, I support Zahara. I'm a Zahara supporter. But I like what I'm seeing from V. And I like what I see from V. And I cannot wait for next week's chapter. Now, let me see if I covered everything. I think I have. And if I don't, I'll put another video out because this one's already super long. Now, anyway, guys, my predictions for the next chapter, okay? I think that we get to talk to V a lot more, because I think we absolutely cannot skip after this, okay? We cannot skip. We have to talk to V. We have to see what he's about. I don't think we get any other family heads revealed. There may be a... not in this chapter. Now, throughout the flashback, we may see a urine, and that I would love to see, but I don't think we get a Blood Matter or Two Perry, anybody of that caliber. I don't think we get anybody else. And we don't need it. Now, can we get up close of Zahara? Yeah, I would like that, but I don't think we need everybody here. But regardless, I think we get more Guardian. We get more explanation about Shinra Ryu, how they all trained. We get to see V's actual abilities and how they relate to Bomb. That will be pretty amazing. And then I think this flashback may last just like the last one, another 4 to 5 chapters. And I love it. I love it. This is peak Tower of God, okay? One of the best things about the series is the lore, and everybody knows that. So hopefully we don't get no POV switches. Hopefully we stay here. I think it'd be a massive mistake if we did. But 10 out of 10 chapter, guys. Really, really fire. Stream is on Friday. I'm sorry. I know you guys would want me to stream today or tomorrow, but I honestly can't. I have to make time for things that matter the most to me in life. So stream's Friday, okay? So be there. I'll put a Discord link in the chapter below per usual, so you guys can come through, come chat in the chat. We are still having the Gus Gang versus Traumery War. I know Tron Gang think they up, but they not gonna be up for long. My boy coming back as an executioner, Dennis DJ. All right, guys, hit that sub button. I appreciate you, love you, peace.